I would say yes right now. So
All right,
just go for it.
let me go to the thing here.
Well, it's just given me a notification that we are now live.
All right, hang on just a second, gentlemen. Let me make sure I'm not seeing
Gentlemen,
live on our
wash your
on
mouth
my
out.
pad here. Yeah, I should, because I want to make darn sure that I can see people's comments tonight, especially latest from here. And we are now live. We are live right now. There we go. Okay, we are in business. Do me a favor and wave, Chris, so I can check my. All right, because I know there's a little delay here. Okay, that's good. Boy, there's a heck of a delay.
I think the internet's going just trickling at the moment, to tell you the truth.
You're good.
All right.
Audio's
All
fine.
right. Okay, here we go. Then am I waving here? Oh, there we go. Boy, there's a huge lag between when we talk and when I see it on here.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
There's always going to be a lag, Dad, so don't worry about it.
All right, let's roll, guys. Hopefully, there's folks watching. I know we got 5 folks out there already, so we will get going. Good evening, everybody. I'm Larry Lawson, one of your hosts for On the Air with Indian River Haunting, and we want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I'm joined by my partner in crime, Mr. Chris Huff, over in County Durham, England. Say hello, Chris.
Good night.
Oh, it's bad. I thought I was going to get hello, Chris again. And
no, it's good night tonight. It's midnight now. We've gone. Clocks have gone back. It's midnight to 1 again.
Well, Ike just came on and says sound and video looks good, so we must be in business, or 10-8 as we say in my old business. At any rate, folks.
What does 10-8 mean?
In service. It means in service. We're in service.
Right. It's just a code, or?
Yeah, it's a code.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm learning. American things. I'm learning.
Well, anyway, folks, thanks for being with us tonight. We hope that you guys out there joining us tonight are safe. You're doing your social distancing thing. Most importantly, we hope that you and your families are all healthy, and we will keep you in our thoughts and prayers. And this is a great place to be tonight for us to all sit and talk and visit, because that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to be taking your questions. But first, a few shout outs to start off our good friend, Ike Enzi in New Mexico with IDK Paranormal. Ike has one of the best shows on the internet. He's a former cop, retired cop, just like myself, and he talks about the stories of the Great West and the paranormal events that have occurred to him over the years. So IDK Paranormal on YouTube. Check it out. You'll like it. So enjoy that. I want to also say hi to Nikki and Sherry with Doodlebug Dowsing, the only place that we buy our dowsing rods from and use on our events and our investigations. So we want to say hi to them and our friends at the Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere, Florida. And Zach and Joe at the, what do we got here? Okay, you're going to have to do that in a minute. And Zach and Joe at the Driftwood Resort on the beach in Vero, which is closed now with everything else. Be interested as we tonight, gang. Let us know what's going on in your neck of the woods, because we're talking to folks from all over the world. And tonight, first of all, before I go into that, Chris, anybody you want to say hello to?
Anybody who knows me who's listening. I can't see who's on, so.
Let's see. Spanky, we got Jim, we got Ike. We got 6 folks out there, but only 3 have popped in so far. So
mostly it's going to be Americans, because it's too late over here.
Yeah,
and I know that Paul's on early duties tomorrow, so he won't be joining us.
Gotcha. Well, he'll catch it later. So, Paul, hi when you watch us later. So, we're no beer challenge tonight, guys. Haven't been able to get out and get something worth showing, but yeah, Chris is going to take up for that. Jägermeister.
Jägermeister.
Well, talk to us. What is that?
35% spirit. All the way from Germany.
This is not even a beer challenge. Then.
This is medicine.
Medicine.
It's medicine. It's definitely medicine. 35% proof. Tastes
Whiskey,
like
bourbon.
sort of like a cough mixture, but 35% proof. It's absolutely gorgeous. You can drink this
Yeah,
by the bottle full.
you'll be
It
drooling
helps.
before this show's over. Yeah.
As I said, I've had the tight chest and burny chest, etc., from this tree pollen, and this actually helps. It's amazing how it helps.
I'd say the same thing, man. I would.
It really does, and the leg's been playing up as well. You know, I've broken my leg twice.
Right.
Yeah, and I've got a plate in it. And you when we were at York, you knew how much pain I'm in with it. This helps. It's better than any painkiller. It really is.
I bet it is.
One or two glasses of this, and you just don't give a damn if it's giving you any pain. So, yeah.
Well, Ike, who is an expert in German, because he is German, says that that is German goodness you have in your hand. And
Jägermeister is wonderful.
And Spanky calls it hard medicine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So enjoy. You'll be slurring and drooling before this show's over. I can guarantee you.
What?
Oh, don't even start. Don't even start. Just what he talked about this last show too, guys. And just a quick non-paranormal story. We're crossing the bridge into the old section of York last year, and I can't remember what pub we were in.
You were in the Golden Fleece.
We were in the Golden Fleece, and I partook of maybe one too many portions of the local brews. Hobgoblin is what it was. And so we did a little, I was doing a breathalyzer, a DUI roadside test, touching your nose, and had a little trouble doing it. So whenever you see him make that comment, that's what he's doing.
Now, what he's not telling you is he was walking along and he nearly went over the balustrade straight into the river. It's kind of an
exaggeration, Chris. Let's get on with the show.
We'll ask Ryan. We'll ask Ryan.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, folks, hey, what happened in York stays in York. So at any rate, let's move. We'll move right along now. Tonight, folks, our theme is to get questions from you. I've gotten some questions already that I'll bring up, but we want to hear some questions from you. We want to get what thoughts are in your mind, things that you may be asking about, maybe things that you have some thoughts about. I do want to tell you this up front. There's a lot of folks in this business that like to proclaim to have definitive answers. That's not us. Neither Chris or I propose that we are the all-knowing experts. We're just like you. We're folks that go out and we do this kind of work. We have our own expertises. We have our own talents. But we are in this just like you are. We are not the guiding authority to anything. There's anybody that tells you that they know all the answers to the paranormal are either lying or they're a fool or a little bit of both. Nobody knows the answers. So the purpose of tonight's show is just to get your questions, talk about them, give us our thoughts, you give us your thoughts. Feel free to tell us we're nuts. I've been a cop long enough. I've heard worse things said to me. So
hey, I've worked in accident and emergency as a nurse. You haven't heard anything.
Oh, Sue Cunningham. Everybody's awake here in the UK. Okay, so you got somebody over there
I've got
that's
one.
awake right now. Yeah. Hey, Sue. Good to see you. So let's have some questions. I got one that cropped up. Chris, we'll start off with this question that I got, and I'll be keeping an eye on my tab here, guys. If you got questions, hit them to us. Even if you know the answer, or you feel like you know the answer, give it to us. But how much training, if any, should a beginner get before they start doing investigations? What do you think, Chris?
That's
training at all, or what?
That's a I can't answer question. That really is. I mean, I'd say go and read some books. Really, go and read some books. Get a damn good idea of what you're doing. Go and talk to some people, and then go and do it. And make your own mistakes like we did.
Yeah. Well, and you know, making your own mistakes, no question, are huge. But I'm a big believer in, people. I use a lot of equipment because I don't have the gifts that you do.
Neither do I.
And I
haven't got the. I mean, I kid myself. I can do things, but hey. I don't want to get big-headed about all this. It's just
that's the one thing I admire about you. You're very humble, but I get really irritated with folks that get all the latest gadgets. They watch the TV shows, they get all the latest gadgets, but they get this equipment. They don't have a clue about
No.
the foundation of how it works. What is what's the word I'm looking for? What's the theory behind how it works? What it's supposed to show you? What do those little lights mean? What happens when you use it improperly? People tend to get equipped.
You can
that's
see
where I
that, but
think training.
it's like getting yourself a television, though. I mean, you don't need to know how the television goes. You just need to know how it works. Just
True.
You press the button, and you set it to this and this, and the television works. And as long as you can do that, and as long as you're willing to learn from other people who've been doing it in the field, so that you don't start saying, here, ghosty, 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 and you start doing it properly, then you don't need to know.
Training.
You don't need to know that it's got 15 resistors and 10 diodes and how diodes work, how resistors work.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
You don't like magnetic resonance or X, Y, and Z. EMF. You don't need to know that the Earth magnetic field fluctuates left, right, and center all over the place constantly. You don't need to know.
I like knowing that stuff. But look at it this way: how many times have people? And I've seen them on when we do like our tours. They'll have a K2 meter, and they'll get all excited when the K2 meter goes off, but they don't realize that they've got their phone in their hand also, and it's ringing. That's training.
That's not how it works. That's just practice. It's learning the techniques. Now you've got to learn techniques. But then again, it comes back to what I said before. You go out and you make your mistakes, like every one of us has done. I can guarantee that anyone who goes out and makes a mistake, I've made the same mistake in the past.
Oh, we all have, and we all continue to make mistakes. I just really think that, in my opinion, there should be some type, if not a formal training, and coming from my world, formal training is how you get into our business, but at least some sort of mentorship or an apprenticeship with somebody that
really would be nice if you're just starting off, to go and find some people who are doing it, some people who are doing it to a certain level of professionalism, and they can take you through how things work. Yeah. It's nice, but sometimes you're just on your own, and I'm on my own all the time. So you just have to learn the hard way. Yeah, and usually by putting a video on YouTube, and everybody laughs at it and tells you what you are. But hey, you get better. You just get better. 6 months down the line, you're looking at the stuff that you've done 6 months ago, and you're thinking, God, that's god awful. But you get better.
I think about. There's this one place that we investigated. It's called the Boston House. It's in Fort Pierce. We were the first team to ever get in there and investigate, and that was really early in the early days of our organization. And I go back and look at the stuff that how we did. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Exactly. So we all make the howlers. It's the people who say, oh, we've been doing this for 5 years, and we're a professional group, and we know everything about this, and we can guarantee to get rid of spirits from your house and X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. I mean, they to tell you the truth, they don't know what they're doing.
Well,
I'll walk around, and if somebody comes to me and says, we've got spirit trouble in the house, and I'll go along and say, look, I'll have a word with them. I'll see if they'll go. I'll try. Can't guarantee it. Mm-hmm. When I was a teenager, I'd have said, yeah, I can get rid of them. Yeah, no problem.
That goes into another question that I got here, and that's about promises teams make. And I know we've discussed a couple times in the shows, and it really makes me nuts when I hear a team saying, we can do this, we will do that. Nobody knows if they can or not. I mean, I can't speak for everybody. Certainly, I don't have the gift of being able to cross somebody over, so I can't comment on whether somebody can do it or not, or whether or not they're successful. But I've seen teams that have made promises about ridding a house of a spirit, and I've often wondered, well, what happens then if 6 months later these people start having more activity and they go crazy because they thought it was solved and now it's not, and this team promised me it did, and how dare you guys tell me you've solved my problem when you really haven't. And that makes me a little bit nuts when people make promises they can't keep, because you're dealing with people's lives here. You're dealing with their sanity sometimes, or their mental well-being.
The first thing somebody comes to you and says, "I've got a problem in the house," blah 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 blah. You've heard all the stories. The first thing you got to do is be like the policeman that you are. Yeah, you go and assess the person.
Oh, absolutely.
Are they completely round the twist? Are they off their meds? And then if the answer to that is no, they seem quite rational, etc., etc., you go and visit and say, right, what's going on? And they get them to take you around the house. And then you have a feel of the house. You have a feel of the house. And you sort of say, yeah, well, you've got so-and-so there. You've got someone down there. You've got someone over there and over there. And then you say, right, when I walk around the house, I don't really want to know where they're having the trouble. I like to go around and find it for myself. Mm-hmm. Because I find that if they tell me that it's happening in the kitchen, I tend to just focus on the kitchen rather than walk around the house and say, "Oh, did you know your bathroom doesn't feel that good?" Mm-hmm. Which they wouldn't say anything, but they'll say, "Yeah, well, I sometimes get a feeling of being watched in the bathroom." But they're worried about the thing. No, I'm not joking.
I know you're not. I just yeah, can't arrest them for being peeping toms.
It happens. It really does happen. And then you can just say to them, look, I'll have a word with them and I'll see what I can do.
Well, if you were to come across a team that said, I can take care of this problem for you. There's no question I can resolve your spiritual infestation.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about somebody making that comment?
I'd ask how.
Well, I'm gonna burn sage, and I'm gonna say prayers, and I'm gonna demand that this spirit leave, and
hallelujah, brother.
Well, but that's what happens, and that's why when you were talking,
and it might work, and I will say that it might work. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that I walk around.
That's the kicker.
Whoever will go. There's no guarantee. There is never a guarantee. And it also depends what they're doing. For all you know, they're having EVP sessions in the house. They're having spirit box sessions in the house. Yeah. Ouija board sessions in the house. They're trying to contact great grandma in the house.
Well, that's actually
you walk around. You walk around. You get rid of everyone who's there. You've said, come on, chaps. Let's get you on. Bum. House is empty. And the next week they're doing the same. They're spirit boxing in the house. They're trying to get in touch with Great Aunt Maud, and it comes back.
And that was one of the other questions I got is, people that are doing things in their home. Would you recommend somebody? I want to get to this other part that you were just mentioning in just a second about places we're investigating where this stuff's going on. But the question I got was, if you're getting new to paranormal research and investigation, what are your thoughts about doing it in your own home just to kind of practice?
Never.
And why is that?
Never. Because you're turning a light on, you're opening the door and saying, come on, boys, mi casa, su casa. There's the fridge, help yourself. Do what you want.
Yeah.
You can't guarantee who's going to come in. You get people go to Lincoln's house and they're saying, "Oh, I'm getting in touch with Abraham Lincoln." Well, how do you know?
Yeah,
you don't.
They do lie. They do lie to us on occasion.
Stop. Yeah, absolutely. So instead of Abraham Lincoln, you've got the rather deranged spirit of a drug user who was a member of a 1%er bike gang, who thinks that creating all sorts of merry hell is the way to be. And you've just invited him in.
And that's one thing I've always felt very strongly about. And granted, there's no actual physical proof of this, but I've always believed that if you open the door and you invite it to come in, even a tacit, even a slight hint that it's okay to come in, they'll do it. So why give that up? Ike just popped up here. He says himself he never sends spirits to the light, etc. That's a very self-serving thing to think that you have the authority to do that. And what if you send them somewhere that's worse than where they're at? That's a good point.
I can tell you what I do. I don't do that.
Hey,
I always
Ryan, if
ask.
you're out there, hang on. Ryan, if you're out there, that spyware thing came up again, so you need to get that off if you can hear me. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Chris. I just had
It's all
something
right.
pop up on
I'm
the
just
screen.
saying. You get a lot of these people. Oh, go to the light. Go to the light. Look for the light. Go to the light. You'll be all right. Whoa, go for the light. I never do that. I mean, yeah, there is a light. Don't get me wrong. There is a light. I will bring a column of light in. But why? I've always thought, why on earth should any, or even why on the afterlife should any spirit trust what I say? They don't know me from Adam. So why the hell should they trust me? I bring one of their loved ones through.
Mm-hmm.
And the number of times that I've had, if I've got a spirit box or something going on, the number of times I've had, oh, it's my mother, it's my wife, it's my brother, it's a blah, blah, blah. I see my brother. That came through a house that I cleared. And then they'll go off together.
Mm.
You know, why should I've always thought, why on earth should anyone trust me? And this is the whole thing, that I don't trust mediums who do this whole look at me bit. It's just no, we're like a spirit box. We're just a tool. Well, I am a tool. You know I'm a tool. You've met me.
Stop that. Well, I like Ike's comment. This is why Ike's the professional that he is, because he understands. It's not about us. It's about helping others. It's about helping the other side and understanding what we can and can't do is what's part of being a pro. So I totally agree with you on that, Ike. Going back to this Ouija board thing and stuff like that. What are your thoughts about a team? Okay, let me back up a little bit here. There's a fine line. I don't conjure or ask things to come to me. I just talk to who's here.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, that's a fine line, but I consider it to be a line. Do you think using a Ouija board, a pendulum, or even dowsing rods opens a door to the other side?
In what context are you using it? Are you going into somewhere that something's happening as an investigation, or are you just doing it in your own home?
No, well, I'm sorry. We're in the context of an investigation. I can tell you this:
in an investigation, you've already, I'd assume, decided that something's going on. Mm-hmm. Or you've gone to a place and you think, well, this looks pretty likely. So then it's a divination tool. I mean, I would advocate anyone opening a session properly, and I would suggest you close it properly. Mm-hmm. And that depends upon you and whatever beliefs you have, so that you might start it by saying a prayer and you might close it by saying a prayer. It's not my way of doing it, but hey, keep yourself safe. Okay. That's the thing. Keep yourself safe. There's no problem with using a Ouija board. Let's face it, at the end of the day, it's a piece of wood with some letters on it and a glass. Not as good as this, because this has got Jägermeister in, so that's a very good glass. But at the end of the day, it's a glass on a bit of wood with some letters on. That's it. There's nothing intrinsically magical about that board. But there is
I agree with that.
Divination tool. So you open it properly and you close it properly.
I guess my rub with the Ouija board, maybe it's not you're right, it's a piece of wood with a thing on it in letters. I grant you, maybe it's how it's used, because so often with Ouija boards, it's almost like so-and-so come to me, or people to ask things to come to them. Like when we use dowsing rods, it's not, is there anybody here that'd like to talk to us? Not Abraham Lincoln, come join us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very much so. It's divination. You're trying to find out who's there and what they want and why they're there. More than come and talk to me because I'm important and I want you to show that I am important. So it's about the spirit, and you want to know why the spirit's there. What's the problem? And if you're doing that, if you're doing this with a pure heart, and I know that sounds very corny, but if you're doing it with a pure heart and pure intentions, no harm will come to you.
I agree with that completely, and I think that intent is part of the thing we have to have in our toolbox, so to speak, the proper intent. And that's another issue that's come up. We've spoken about this before. People that get into this, they've watched too many TV shows, and they want to be they want to be the next ghost hunter on TV, and that's not the right intent.
Not at all.
So
not at all. Don't get me started on that. You'll regret it. Don't get me started on that.
Well, folks, if anybody's got any questions out there, go ahead and get them to us. I've got my tablet up here, and if you got some questions or thoughts that you have, share them. The show tonight's about you and sharing some thoughts. So
don't hold back, people. Just if you disagree, tell me I'm talking out my arse. Do so. I say I'm talking out my arse all the time, but never mind.
Have another Jägermeister there. I think you're on the right track right now, brother.
I'm getting there.
Here's a question that came up a little while ago. Do you think there should be a minimum age of an individual? I'm talking youth now, before they should even think about getting involved in this type of work.
Interesting question. Yes and no. What's the attitude of the child? That's what I've seen. Spirits all my life. Full stop. I mean, for example, when I was 5, I saw a phantom ship going up the English Channel. Nobody else could see it. I could see it. I walked around and I could see people in costume. What I thought was people in costume, but it's what they were wearing at the time. In these old castles and ruins that my parents would take me to. People in museums when I was taken to museums. Didn't affect me. But it depends upon the child. And it depends what you're going to do.
When do you think you reached the age where you understood it enough to deal with it in the sense of...
I honestly can't answer that because... I mean, I could go along the line of saying, you wouldn't have liked me when I was a teenager. Because I was like a TV medium. I was full of piss and importance. Look at me, aren't I clever? Aren't I great? I've got this gift, and it wasn't until I was about 25 that I got that kicked out of me. But what's the age that you should take children? I don't honestly know. I mean, when they're going to stop having nightmares from it, I suppose.
Okay, once again. Taking it from a very practical, structured thing. I usually don't let kids get involved. We've had a few that have. 13 is an age, and I've just picked that. Now, I've seen some 18-year-olds that have no business doing it because they're so immature, especially guys. But I've seen a couple of 11, 12-year-olds that, have their stuff together. So
I've been on investigation where there's an 8-year-old.
Really?
And they could actually see spirits, and they were very mature about it.
Well, see, that's an interesting thing because we all know that young people, probably younger than 8 even, have a tendency to experience more because their minds aren't as cluttered as ours.
Well, it's not cluttered. It's not cluttered. It's because you're told constantly, don't be stupid. Stop lying. You're doing this for attention. Stop lying. And eventually, you just don't see them anymore. Now, I was lucky my father was a medium.
You know what? You've never told me that.
Oh well.
You've never told me that.
There's an awful lot about me, but you haven't heard.
Well, I know your dad was an RAF officer.
Yes, and a medium.
I did not know that.
And a professional footballer.
Now, footballer for you guys is soccer, correct?
Soccer. Yes, soccer.
Okay.
Yes, he was a professional soccer player.
Oh, wow. Did not know that
And he was offered a music contract for singing. Oh
Dang.
God, yeah, and he was drum soloist in the RAF. You know, drum soloist, lead
I'm,
drummer
yeah. I assume
in
in
the
the.
RAF,
Oh wow.
in the RAF Central Band.
Wow.
So yeah, I've got an awful lot to live up to, really.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I mean,
You've,
this is like a big cloud that hangs over me all my life. I've got to measure up. It
I
wasn't
think
put on
you.
me by my father, but it's a case of I don't want to let him down.
And you have not, my friend. You have not. I can
Oh,
tell you that
I
right now.
let everyone down. I do.
Stop that. So, so,
Ja,
so
das
getting
ist gut.
back to
Das ist gut.
yeah, that's good. That's good.
Das ist gut. Das ist sehr
Uh,
gut. That's
by the
right.
way, I'm learning German. Some of the families at the school that I work at right now
Oh,
um,
German.
are German, and they're
Excellent.
starting to teach me German. You don't see it as an age so much as a maturity level for
A
kids.
maturity thing, but also don't decry anyone if they say that their child sees spirits. You know,
Oh, I agree with that. I
see if they're
totally.
gonna, if they say, "Oh, little Johnny sees spirits all the time in his room," ask him what he sees. But treat
Yeah,
him as an adult. Don't treat him as a child. Treat him as an adult.
I
Because if
think
you treat
that's.
them as an adult, then you're going to get an adult.
I totally agree. I totally agree with that.
And
And if, at a young
you
age too. If you,
start going slightly off this. Dogs. I've had some incredible results with dogs.
I was
Just
gonna.
saying,
Yeah.
they won't go somewhere. They're seeing something. You can actually see them stop dead and look, and the hackles go up.
Mm-hmm.
And some start growling. One or two, I've seen one or two. You know what RAF guard, Air Force guard dogs are like. Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll take your face off. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not friendly. There's so many reports from airfields where they're walking around with these RAF guard dogs, and the dogs will suddenly stop and whimper and back away.
Uh-huh.
They do not like what they're seeing. They're frightened.
I've wanted to take my older dog, Ryan's dog, is a little too old now, and the other dog we got, it's a Labradoodle, and Cooper's kind of nuts. But I've always wanted to take our dogs just to see how they reacted. I don't know how good my dogs would be at, but I would love to get a dog and take them on one of our investigations. And if anybody out there listening to us now has used a dog in an investigation, would love to hear what kind of results you have. Yeah, I think you told me about yours, or the one you used.
Oh no, Toby used to see things in our haunted bungalow all the time, but we went to a pub in Weardale, and they had a lurcher.
In where?
Lurcher? Weardale. It's the valley that we're in.
Weirdo. Okay.
Weirdo.
Okay.
Weardale. Sorry, I've got to pronounce for Americans. Weardale. So, this lurcher bitch would follow the owner's son everywhere. So we tried it. They had a haunted cellar, which used to be a bar. It was very big, but didn't get the custom, so they stopped it being a bar and they just turned it back into a cellar. All sorts went on down there. I'm not going to go into it, but yeah, it was haunted. So the owner's son went. We tried an experiment with the dog. The owner's son went down the first flight of steps, which is about 6 steps down, hits a small landing, changes direction 90 degrees, and goes down another 6 flights of steps, or more, into the cellar. He got down to the landing, and he called the dog down. Now, the dog would normally just be at his heels all the way down. She took 3 steps down and stopped dead. And he was saying, come on, it's all right, come on. Usually what you say to dogs, come on. Wouldn't move. And then eventually she backed up slowly and sat by the owner's legs as though she'd done something really bad because she couldn't go down there. And we tried again later because, all right, I'm there, it's making her nervous, etc., etc. We tried again later. She wouldn't even go down there. She looked through the door and then turn straight back.
Wow.
So, take a dog along.
Yeah,
I really would.
I really want. By the way, we got West Woody here.
Hey,
Popped up.
someone who likes my books. Thank you, man.
Okay, well, he said, West Woody, I once visualized light filling a dying man's lungs to aid his breathing, and straight after he breathed his last, I always wondered if I inadvertently provided him with a light to pass over into. Well,
quite possibly.
Possible. Yeah.
Good wishes never hurt. And that's all I will say. Good wishes never, ever hurt. All you'll have done is something good.
Yeah. Well, and once again, you would go back to intent. If it's
intent,
Passover because I'm wonderful and I have the power, it's one thing. To help somebody like that. Ike just popped up. They use dogs in their work, he says, out there in New Mexico. Every dog that he's had was intuitive to the unseen. So I believe it. I've told you the story about my brother's 2 black labs barking one night at the door where all of my dad, who just before that, all of his stuff was in my brother's closet, and the dogs just stood there scratching at the door one night. Let's see. Spanky's talking about that you and he had a discussion one night, I guess, on the internet after one of the earlier shows about death and when we become spirits. What is your thoughts on spirits' attachment to places versus objects? This is a good question here, kind of getting us into another direction. I'm going to reread that because I think I screwed it up. What is your thoughts on spirit attachments to places versus objects? We always talked about objects having an attachment. What about places?
Yes, they do. Very much so. Even more than objects. There's some people who just can't let go. And that's all you need to know. They can't let go. This is mine. It gets worse with objects because you get Auntie Flo says, I promise this to your sister. And they will haunt the hell out of you until they get what she wanted.
Okay. All right. Well, I talked to a lot of folks, especially about the old schools, all kids that are still inhabiting that school. First thing they ask is, because I think this is the traditional thought, something bad happened there. Something is holding those spirits there, and I don't think that's it at all. I think the spirits go back to where they're happy.
It can. I mean, you get. If somebody's murdered in a place, they might stay there. They've got an association there. They might not be able to move on from there because it's just, I don't know. It's just there's an attachment to the place. Most of the time, no, they do move on, but they come back and view it. And often you'll get a sadness associated with that more than anything else, that you suddenly get this wafting sadness as something has happened to them at that building and they're remembering it, and you get a real sadness. But then they'll pass on and the sadness goes until the next time that they come through. Others seem to be at the building and they're just staying there all the time. I'm not sure why, really. Well, then you get the religious types who are at a place because they think they've done something really bad and they're going to go to hell because of it, and they're hanging on for grim death because they don't want to go.
A little afraid the elevator is going to go down instead of up.
Yeah, because that's what they believe. And you've just got to talk to them, and it takes a long while often. But you talk to them, you bring people through, and you get them to talk to them, and eventually they will go. And then there's this wonderful peace that sort of comes over the area.
What about, what are your thoughts on this, kind of a follow-up question? Do you think there could be a spirit that is staying in a place where there's several spirits, and that one spirit is preventing the other ones from either interacting with us or even allowing them to cross over? What are your thoughts on that?
Have you seen my Langley Hall videos?
Yeah.
That's what that's about.
There's that one spirit that's lording over the others.
Really, I don't like the term angel and I don't like the term demon. But I will say there are light spirits and dark spirits. And there's something at this place which is very dark. And it's very angry. And it's very nasty. And there were underneath this angry, nasty thing, there were a lot of spirits who were dark, wearing hoods. And it wasn't very pleasant. And the ones wearing hoods were stopping others from leaving. And it seemed to be as though others would just wander, like spirits wander in, and then they'd grab them and hold them. So there were more and more there.
Interesting. Yeah, I've heard the Langley episodes, and I find it very interesting. Any theories, and I know you don't know, but do you have any theories on how a spirit can have that kind of control over another spirit?
Just because they're a bastard in life, I think. They're used to getting their own way, and they found out that on the other side, they can bully away like no one's business and not get anyone stop them. Until you get someone like me go along, and I have to admit, I will not go back to this place because
you told me
it was a battle of wills for the whole time I was there, and I don't want to go back because
that's only one of two spots you won't go back to.
Yeah, it's about the others have got other reasons. I won't go to Hastings Abbey. Because I got a past life experience from the Battle of Hastings. I will not go to Hastings. Langley Hall I won't go because I don't know. It was stronger than me.
Gotcha.
I held it. I had help from the other side. I held it. I don't want to do it again. Full stop. I do not want to do it again because the fallout from it was quite bad. You're talking nightmares for weeks afterwards. And
let me ask you this question then. You have the ability to see this and experience this. I don't. At least that's my opinion. I don't. What would the danger be? You've explained the danger to you because of you're able to see and experience and communicate. What would the danger be to me that doesn't have that ability? An investigator going in that doesn't have that gift that you do. What would be the danger of this kind of spirit to me as compared to what you described for you? Does that make sense?
Yeah, very much so. Let me formulate some ideas. You'll go home. Oh, excuse me. They'll come with you. Your house will start feeling cold. You'll get drafts in your house that you haven't got any drafts, but it feels drafty. You'll feel like someone's watching you. You'll feel like there's shadows in the room. Your animals start getting sick. Your animals start fighting. People in the house start fighting. Your animals start dying. Your children start getting really, really aggressive. Your children get sick. Your children start dying. Your loved ones get really sick. Your loved ones start dying. And that's how it goes until it's all gone.
Okay. One of the things that we always do.
If you imagine like going to a restaurant and you've got a 15-piece buffet and you just work your way through it, that's the analogy.
Two-part question for you then on this. How often does that occur, and is there any way to prevent it? For example, at the end of all of our investigations, we always say, you do not have permission to follow us. You must stay here. You cannot go with us. Are those just words? Will they work for something like this?
It's just words. Words have power. That's the first thing you've got to appreciate. Words and thoughts have power. So by denying that something can come with you, you have a certain power. You're better off. I mean, I don't know if you're of any religious bent whatsoever, but a prayer or something, or invoking whatever God you believe in, or this and that is a better way of stopping them. I'm losing track of where I was going there.
Well, we were talking about this type of entity. Having Jägermeister's getting to you, pal.
but the legs stopped hurting.
There you go. I was basically talking about how often do these types of spirits create
That's
this
the
kind of
one.
habit?
How often? Not as often as you think. Honestly, I mean, most spirits that you walk in, even if you go to a cemetery, most of them aren't going to take much notice of you. Honestly, they're so wrapped up in themselves, like we are them in everyday life. We're more wrapped up in ourselves than worrying about what the next door neighbor does. So, and they're exactly the same. I mean, some ask for help and then you just pass them on, and all's well. And one or two might follow you home because you're a little bright light that they think, oh, that's light, and I live in darkness, and isn't the light nice? And all they really want is a bit of help. It happens, but not that often. You've just got to watch out for the signs. And the first sign that you're going to get is the house starts feeling a bit cold. You start seeing some shadows, and you start arguing where you've never argued before. So you have real arguments with your wife over things that you think, why on earth are we arguing about that?
What do you do then? You notice these signs coming up. You notice this is starting to happen. What do you do?
Ask me, and I'll come and sort.
Well, I mean, is that the answer? Get somebody with your ability to come help clear it out, or a clergy? Will that? Sometimes I've seen clergy come and it gets worse.
Yes, exactly, because they don't believe in what they're doing. They're just going through the formula. Now,
intent. Okay.
Go and read a book by the Reverend Aylwin Roberts called Holy Ghostbuster. Now, he really believes in what he's doing, and he works with psychics, and he works with mediums, and he sorts problems out because he calls himself like a psychic social worker. And that's what it's all about.
What's his name?
Roberts.
Aylwin Roberts. Ghost. Yeah. And what do you call it?
Holy Ghostbuster. Go and read his book.
Ghostbuster.
It's really worth a read.
Hey, Ryan, can we put that anywhere on where our show is? Can you put a tag to that at all? Is that possible? Is Ryan there?
Oh, he's probably worrying about college. Don't worry about it.
Well, Holy Ghostbusters. We'll see what we can do about putting this up.
The series Ghost Hunters, not the American horrible, nasty, look at me, yuck, but the earlier British Ghost Hunters.
Oh, okay.
There's an earlier British series called Ghost Hunters, which is completely factual, not investigations. They're just discussing it. And look for an episode called "In the Shadow of Snowdonia."
Snowdonia.
It's in Wales.
It's in Wales, okay. But it's in the show was called what again?
Ghost Hunters.
Ghost Hunters. Okay.
I'll send you I'll send you an email, and if I can find it, I'll send you a link.
Okay, and then we'll put it up here for everybody else to take a look at too.
It's what he does. It's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. You'll like it.
Well, there was and his name's escaping me right now. I had on my other show that I used to do on the X Zone Broadcast Nation, though, where you and I met, and he was
the one
of
that terrified me shitless. Yeah. I am not joking. You terrified me.
I terrified you?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I've had some terrible radio interviews. And whenever I get radio interviews, I think, oh my God, I'm in for it again. They're going to tell me what a pile of shit it is. Because that's all they want to do. I'm not joking. That's all they want to do. They want to put you on the show as a medium and then start tearing chunks out of you.
Well, I hope you didn't have that experience with me.
No, I was assuming you did. I'm still talking to you, so.
Yeah, I was going to say. So, well, and this all goes back to that training thing that we got that first question on is training doesn't necessarily have to be sit down in a classroom and here's the blackboard and listen to me lecture. Training is mentorship and it's apprenticeship and it's getting out there and doing things. So I think that's what
I keep saying to you, next time you come over, we're going to go to places and I'm going to teach you that you can feel spirits.
If you can convince me of that will be I will be impressed if you can convince me of that.
It's just Evan could do it. Evan could teach you, but Evan is too in awe of you to say, "Oh, this." No, I'm not joking. You've got a father-son angst going on. You can't do this to the old man. You can't say that to the old man. Well, I don't give a shat. I really don't. I'll tell anyone that, hey, you can do this. So you come next time you come over, year's time or whatever it is, as soon as this bloody bug's gone, and we'll get you seeing some nice sights over here in County Durham, and I'll get you to start feeling the difference between a spirit there and a spirit not there.
If you can convince me that, you'll impress me even more than you already have. Spanky, I'm not sure what you meant by asking questions, Spanky, but Ike's come back on. There's no doubt that when it's dark energy, I have encountered it a few times. One of my episodes about the old sheriff's office, great episode. When I think it's going to be like the second or third episode of IDK Paranormal. He talks about the sheriff's office, and he talks about the darkness in there. Mm-hmm. That's right. My dog got sick to the point that I went to the doctor. So, Ike, are you thinking that this entity may have followed you home, or the dog wasn't with you? From what I remember,
it doesn't. No, it doesn't matter. That's the thing. It doesn't matter. It's that it comes home with you.
Right. So it's that. But what I'm asking is, it was his dog with him, and I don't think he had a canine with him. So the dog was at home. Yeah. So do you think, Ike, that the entity followed you home? Did you have anything happen past the dog getting sick? Just out of curiosity.
Did you have? Can I just ask? Did you have any other phenomena in the house? Silly things, literally silly things. Curtains moving, curtains falling down, papers falling off shelves, ornaments moving, candles snuffing out, light bulbs constantly blowing. Now that is a common one. Light bulbs constantly blowing.
Yep.
So just sit, and yet you think, oh, well, there must be something wrong with the electrics. And yet, if you get it checked out, there's nothing wrong with the electrics, but the light bulbs keep blowing.
Well, because of the lag time between when you and I talk and when it comes out on YouTube, we'll wait for a couple of seconds to get Ike's answer to that. But I am curious about that. Yeah, but folks, if you haven't checked out IDK Paranormal, like it for starters, hit the like button. But I think it's like a second or third episode. He talked about the ghost in the sheriff's office. Pretty cool little episode. And that reminds me, before I forget,
it actually doesn't matter. Just go and look at his channel, because what he's doing on there is just I enjoy it immensely.
Yeah,
and I can't say that about many channels.
Yeah, there you go. And by the way, if you like our show, hit like for us too. Hit subscribe and like us. Ike has answered. It said it followed him home and appeared to him in a dream.
There you are. Yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes.
How do dreams connect us to the other side, Chris?
You're in a. I'll say lucid state, because that's the thing that people will understand. You're in a lucid state. You're in a lucid dream, and you're more open to what's going on around you. And in other words, you're more like I am all the bloody time. So you just wander in your dream. You go and say, people will come in. Sorry, not say. People will actually come in and start talking to you. The trick is trying to remember it in the morning.
Yeah, that is the tough part. Yeah. You know what happened, but you can't remember. He says, Ike just answered back, he said the activity is up lately around his house. Might be time for another remote visit.
Is it his mother's house?
Is it your mom's house, Ike, or is it yours?
Because I've told you about that place. But there's also other things going on at your mother's house.
Okay, so we'll wait for him to answer about that. This is the kind of interaction we like, stuff. Folks, that's what this show is about, us talking about your experiences and just kind of hashing them out and maybe coming up with some different ideas or sharing some ideas or giving somebody an idea. So this is good stuff. So we'll wait for Ike to get back. And that's the kicker here. And it goes back to what I keep saying about folks claiming to know it all. And, some of these guys on TV, and that I think there's a place for this on television. I do. I know we disagree on that.
We disagree on that one.
But there are some people that have almost retained godlike status over it, and that scares me because
Mhm.
it does. It
That's
takes
why
it way too far.
that's the one reason I say there's no place. I mean, if it was taken seriously on television as a serious study, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But it's not, because it's,
Yeah.
you look at it. Oh, what was that? And we go to the commercial break, and you come back and it
Yeah.
was nothing. Oh well, we investigated it and it was a bird flying around the ceiling, or
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, like I said, well, I think that it's done a lot to help bring the field into the forefront, and more people are taking it seriously. And people that maybe were enthralled with it at first have gone on to become serious researchers and
Well, yeah.
investigators. So that's what.
If they start by watching it and get interested and then go and learn, do it
Yeah,
for themselves, make the mistakes, learn from the mistakes. Brilliant, absolutely
yeah,
brilliant.
exactly.
If they go and say, "Oh, I want to do that," and become wannabes and do exactly what they do on television, and then start faking the results, oh dear.
Oh, well, then we got, yeah, that's a whole different ball game. But I also want to see, and you've heard me, and we talked about it last week. I want to see people collecting their evidence and keeping it and using it to study it later and compare. Too many times teams go out and oh, yep, we got this EVP. Oh, we heard this bump. Oh, and they don't do anything with it. Ike is back with us now. It says it's at his mother's house.
Yep.
He's seen a shadow figure and a full
Yep.
apparition. Some lights are turned on in the morning, and I'm assuming they were turned off when they went to bed at night. So that is mom's house, though.
Can I just say that what you've got there is, it's a dispute from the 18 somethings, 1850s, 60s, 70s. It's over horses and water, if that makes any sense. That's what I'm picking up. And it got violent, and one or two people got killed with it. I think there was a shootout, and it's over horses and water. So see if you can research that, see if there's any records.
Yeah, I know there's quite a bit of houses on that property, and I know Sylvia's seen some things there. So I'd be really interested, Ike, if when you do some research, maybe there's something that happened there. That's interesting. West Woody has come back and made the comment about much to be gained by focusing on what happens as we fall asleep. I agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of going in.
If you're like this, if you're getting the information, put a pad and a pen or a pencil by your bed and start taking notes.
Yeah.
I cannot stress this enough. Start taking notes, because all of a sudden you get this idea and you start thinking, oh, I'll remember that in the morning and blah, blah, blah. And by the morning you're going, oh my God, what was I going to remember? Oh, what was that about?
But here's the problem with it. Here's the problem with that, Chris. Excuse me. Well,
don't you dare start.
Sorry, bug went down the throat. When I'm going to sleep, as I'm going off, it's like, yeah,
that's what you need
for me. By the time I'm starting to feel or think about things, I'm gone. I can't get up and write down notes. Here's a question from Spank. Good point. Chris Spanky just came back. When did you realize your abilities, and when did your father let you know about his? That's a good question.
Oh, that's I can't answer that. You know that? I can't actually answer that. The first spirit I know, I saw when I was in my crib. And I must have been 15 months old.
You actually have a memory of it.
I still remember, because I remember this very tall, thin, very white man with piercing blue eyes looking over the side of the cot at me. And then years later, and I am talking years later, when I was 25, I told my mother, did you know that? I saw this when I was in my cot. I saw this man peek over, and it stopped her dead in her tracks. And I described him.
Yeah.
And she said, "That's your Uncle Frank. He was killed on a pedal cycle, by a hit and run driver a few months before I was born."
Are you kidding?
No.
Wow.
And I still remember that vaguely, not as much detail as I did when I was 20, but vaguely. I still remember this man. And you're talking someone that looks about 15, 20 foot tall, because he's
Yeah.
tiny. Yeah. But he's incredibly alabaster white, and with really piercing blue eyes, who bent over the thing and looked at me.
Holy cow. And you got a wow from Spanky on that one, too. When did your
But
dad...
that's my life.
Yeah. When did your dad tell you that he had the ability?
When I was about 14.
How did it come up?
Very peculiar. Very, very, very peculiar. My father met two people that he was working with. And they started forming a sort of like a medium circle, a development circle. Now, one of them was the CO of my air training corps squadron.
Really?
Oh yeah, it gets so twisted. It's unbelievable. So blah 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 blah. Ron came round. Whenever the chap came round, it was Ron. Yeah. Hello, Ron. How you doing? Blah blah. When we were at the air training corps, sir. Yeah. Same with my father. You know, hey, Dad. How you doing, Dad? Yeah. Air training corps, because he was in charge of drumming. Boom. So, yes, sir. No, sir. 3 bags bloody full, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. So I was treated like shit between the pair of them, but never mind. That was just so I didn't get bullied. It just sort of came out that we were talking one day about this and that and this and that, and my father said, "Well, yeah, you know, when I was don't worry about it. When I was a kid, I used to walk down the road, and as I went past them, the street lights used to go out."
Okay.
Then a year later, he was dead.
That's right. He passed when you were 15.
When I was 16. When I was 16.
16. Okay.
So I didn't have a chance to meet my father. You know, it's like when you're young, you don't give a shit. You know, your parents are going to be there forever.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, up to 10, 12, your parents are going to be there forever. You know, they're set in stone. And at 15, you start becoming aware, you know, you're getting older and your parents are there and you want to know a bit more about them and your family history. And then my father died. So I never knew him. Never knew him.
Mm. Yeah.
I honestly, I feel cheated. I still do. I feel cheated. And there are nights when my father actually, this is another thing, my father doesn't appear very often because he knows he upsets me. Not because he upsets me, but because it still hurts.
Sure.
Really, really hurt. You can't tell you how much it hurts. But he doesn't appear because of that, because he knows it upsets me. But he's always around. But now and again he appears, especially in dreams, when he comes through and just sort of, it's almost like patting on the head or patting on the back and saying, there, it's all right, son. Blah, 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 blah. He's doing his best, you know, because they can't influence what's happening in your life. It's just so interesting that, you know, I'm following in his footsteps in so many ways. He was in the he was in the RAF. I was in the Air Training Corps. I hate football. That's the big division. I hate
That's the difference. Huh?
I hate soccer. I really, really hate soccer. I can sing. You're not going to hear me sing online, but I can sing.
Oh, shit, I said that. Now I'm going to have to.
No. Only when you get me drunk again. Then I went to Malta and I was excavating on Malta, and the only way I could afford to have anything to drink on Malta was to sing. So I used to sing of an evening, and people would buy me beer.
Yeah, in case you didn't know, Chris is also a college-educated archaeologist. So
College, university, Albin, university.
university. Oh, I'm sorry, old chap. University. Quite.
University.
Uh,
I'll have you know, I'm Chris Huff, BA, PG Dip, MA. It's bloody awful, isn't it? Doesn't mean sod all, apart from how pretentious are you?
Well, we got a couple other questions here. Wes Woody says that saw my grandmother at age 7, just shortly after she died, at the end of my bed in full color. That's a common story. I've heard those many times.
I like
falling
that.
towards
She's
me.
just letting you know that everything's okay. She's
Got
still
under the
around you.
sheets of fear, but she'd gone when I looked back out. Yeah.
Yep.
Ike asked me a quick question. This might be where we ended tonight because we're. Can you believe it? We're already past time.
No,
My
keep
God.
going. Keep
We're
going.
Well, Ike wants to know what made me get into the paranormal. And I've talked about this a couple of times.
It's time to put the spotlight on you, Mr. Lawson.
Growing up, I always had an interest in the unusual. My mom was really into ancient aliens, and she read all the books and things like that, and had an interest in it. Loved science fiction. I guess that's probably why I became a detective. You know, I always wanted to find the answers to the unknown. Never really had any experience. Never had any experiences that I can recall as a kid involving the paranormal. And it wasn't until I just got into the law enforcement field. I got my start working in the Dade County Jail in Miami. I was 20 years old, just a kid. And I was on the 4th floor. I worked downstairs in the main booking area. And when they were short on the floors, they would send one of us up. And being the kid, I would get sent up. It was midnight watch. They sent me to the 4th floor where everybody was either on suicide watch or they were confined for something special. But to give you an idea, when this happened, I was sitting at the control booth, all glass around me and mortar. Back door goes around to a catwalk that went around the outside of all the jail cells. I was looking out into a lobby area that had 3 wings. Boom, 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 and an elevator, and that's how you took people down to court and whatnot. Well, there was a barred door at the end of each wing, and you could see the catwalk. And I'm sitting there, and it isn't late, so wasn't all that tired or anything like that. And of course, I was 20, still full of piss and vinegar. You know, here I am on the job, and I'm looking down at what they call the suicide wing. It was C wing, they called it, even though it was A, C, B. Don't ask me why, but the middle was C wing. And I saw a figure, and he appeared to be in uniform, solid, nothing wispy about it, go from right to left. There was no question in my mind. And there was a stairway that came down from the 1st floor that you could go up to the walkways. And we had a lieutenant that loved to come up and catch people sleeping and whatnot. So the first thing I did was holler to the 2 other guys on the floor with me, lieutenants on the catwalk. So they went out the back of the control booth. One went right, one went left. They went around, and nobody was there. And they said, "Lawson, you're crazy. There's nobody out there." "I'm telling you, I saw him." This place is haunted anyway. And that was the first of a number of things that I saw in the jail that made me wonder. But there was no question what I saw that night. So that really sparked my interest. But it wasn't until Ryan, are you listening?
Yes.
He's sleeping. There he is.
Yeah.
There he is. Ryan, for his 10th or 11th birthday, we went to St. Augustine because Ryan was really enjoying ghost hunters in those days. And I took him up to St. Augustine, and we went to the lighthouse. And in the lighthouse, there was 3 little girls that had died during construction of it. Was more to the story, but I'll kind of shorten it. And we, without question, the little girls laughing. And of course, being a cop, the first thing I'm doing is looking for speakers and wires, nothing there. That was such a profound experience for both of us. That's what started, and Ryan actually came up with the name Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation. That was the beginning of our group. So that's kind of how it started, Ike. Thank you for asking, by the way. And by the way, Spanky says, "Thank you, Chris. Didn't mean to bring up a touchy subject with you." So I'm
No. Can I just say another thing about dreams?
Yeah, please do.
Because this is quite an important one. I had a dream about Richmond Castle, which is 20 miles down the road. And in the dream, I was being talked to by a rich Norman nobleman in a sort of purplish tunic with fleur-de-lis on, which is important,
Mhm.
with a gold goblet with jewels on, etc. And he told me in the dream his name was Alain de Lille.
Yeah.
Alain.
Yeah.
Alain is important. Very French. So I went there the next day. I felt this compulsion to go there the next day. And I went to exactly the same place that I'd seen him in the Great Hall of Richmond Castle. And I said on the video, it is recorded, this is where I saw in my dream Alain de Lille. And it comes straight back at me. Alain, in good French.
Significant.
Interesting.
Yes, to say
So
the least.
dreams are important. Do not ignore them.
No, I'll tell you what, the only two times my father has come to me has been in two dreams, two very, very specific, two very, very vivid dreams. And nothing was said on his part except on the second one, he said, "Do you want to go fishing?" And that is because I saw him sitting in our old house in Toledo, Ohio, where we had our fishing poles lined up, and he was sitting there and said, "You want to go fishing?" And that was the way my dad and I communicated with each other. That's how we bonded, was through fishing. So I'm a big believer in dreams myself.
You've got to go with the dream. You've got to go with the dream. If
Yep.
somebody says, "Do you want to do this?" you say yes and go, because there's a reason.
Yeah, agreed.
You've got to just
Well,
literally. You don't analyze it. You go with it, because there's a reason.
I believe that. I totally believe that. And this is a great spot to wrap up tonight because we're
Righty-ho.
a little bit over. We appreciate everybody sticking with us, man. Everybody's still out there.
Absolutely.
Would have liked to have gotten more questions, guys, but we appreciate those that came through. Remember, this show's about
we'll
us.
have to
huh?
do another session like this. It's worked
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed hearing from you guys. The interaction with everybody out there has
Yeah.
been terrific tonight. Really, really appreciate all of it. So thank you. But once again, share your knowledge of the show. Tell people about it. Get them online so we can talk about it. If you haven't
Hell no.
subscribed,
Only if they're interested. Don't tell everyone if they're interested. Yeah. Don't tell everyone. I don't want people coming on who say, "Oh, this is a pile of fucking shit." I want people who are interested.
Granted. Okay. Anybody that's interested. But anyway, if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button and also that little bell that will tell you when new content is up. Folks, this is a really...
Can I just add a couple of things?
Add a couple
No.
things.
No. All right, then.
Ryan speaks. Go ahead,
Right.
Chris.
I'm not going to now.
Oh, Ryan,
Sorry.
see what you did?
Chris, I love you. Go ahead.
Oh, lovely, man. You wait till you get here. You can buy me a pint of Hobgoblin. On my channel, because of this
Oh, yes.
coronavirus thing that is driving everyone up the wall and is keeping them in, all 3 of my Haunted Airfield books are now online.
And they're
Anybody
great
who wants to
books.
read them, go and read them.
And
It won't cost you a penny. Just go and read them. I've put them
Chris
online
won't-
for everyone.
Spirit Research Northeast, folks. That's Chris's. And Chris, you got to start naming your channel because I forget in my old man brain. Spirit Research Northeast.
No,
yeah,
because,
folks got to go see it.
That's too narcissistic. No,
I know.
I won't do
can
it.
do it.
no,
Spirit
you
Research
can't.
Northeast,
It's
folks.
too
Go see
narcissistic.
Chris'
Stop it.
stuff. Do read, if
The-
you
the-
can,
the
his airfield
second-
books.
This,
you
no,
let me
don't
finish
don't
talking?
bother. The second thing is there's a video that's come out now, an hour ago, which has something important in it, and I've told Larry about this. There is
Gotta-
an
gotta
important
hear it.
communication, and this proves to me, at least, life after death. So go and have a watch, or not, as your will would be. I won't push my stuff on anyone. It's not fashionable. It's not run around. It's not look at me. It's not scream shout.
Oh,
It's not ghost hunters. It's not Ghost Adventures is just what I do. And that's
And
just evidence.
And folks, it's worth seeing. Spirit Research Northeast. Go to that channel. Look at these books. I've got one autographed copy, I might add. Terrific thing to read. Man, it just gets into so much history. It gets into so much of what's happened at these historic airfields.
You should see the rewrite.
Oh, I can't wait to see that. It's going to be huge.
It's going to be years. It's going to be 2 years.
Yeah. So, all right. You need another Jägermeister before you go to bed, my friend.
I do. I need another bottle.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I've turned him into... All right. And folks, until next week, please join us next week. Get those that are interested to come on back and come on and join us. We want to share this.
Questions. Come and say what you think. Come and tell us you think we're arseholes. Come and say what experiences you've had. Come and just say something.
Yeah. So please join us, folks. Next week we'll be back here at Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here in the U.S., 5 o'clock out in the New Mexico, western part of the U.S., and of course midnight, 11 or midnight over there.
Over here we have the witching hour.
Well, and if you can't watch us live, then catch the shows. They're all on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the bell. Thanks, folks, for watching tonight. Really enjoyed being here with you. Please stay safe. Please keep your family
socially isolate. Keep yourself separated. Go and read my books. If nothing else, it will bore you to tears and it will send you to sleep. Brilliant.
Most importantly, folks, tell somebody you love them because you never know when today's the last day.
Absolutely. Go and ring your mother.
All right. Have a good night, folks. We're out here. See you next Tuesday. Join us again. And until next time, we'll see you on the other side. Have a good night, folks.
Bye!
Oh, are we off, Ryan?